Boom, I'm in the room and I've had trouble again. For some bizarre reason, it doesn't like scheduling, but I've had to go live manually, as it were. Anyway, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from. Now, you're probably watching this because there's nothing on the telly. And I'm coming to you live from the old Heale Manor. And I'm your host, Lord Heale. Now, you know I've got a radio station. There's the link for it. Hey. Anyway, but that's not why you're here. We're here to watch the stuff. So, you know what this is all about. It's all about mental health, taking the stigma out of mental well-being, and being able to talk about it. Of course, I'm always looking for guests. And talking to guests, I've got one on tonight. So, without too much further ado, we're going to talk about depression and anxiety. So here we go. Stand by. I'm going to bring him in. Boom, you're in the room. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning from British Columbia, Canada.
Jeremy, welcome to the show. Now,
yeah,
Jeremy,
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
You've got a little bit of a tale to tell about anxiety and a little bit of depression. So if you want to give us a few minutes about you and your journey, and then we'll come in and we'll have a chat about it. Okay, the floor's yours.
Thank you. Yeah, the little bit of anxiety and depression is more like a lot of anxiety and depression. My entire life, I lived with depression. As a young man, I was diagnosed with depression. I was probably about 15 or 16, and coped with it badly for most of my life. I coped with my mental well-being and my physical well-being badly. I would often drown my fears and my pains with as many beers as I could find. I would just sort of keep doing the same things over and over again, and allowing myself to be a victim of life rather than, taking control of my life and trying to make better choices for myself. And ultimately, it was a knee injury that turned things around for me. I had become a new father. And a few months into the process, I experienced the dumbest injury you've ever heard of. I got out of bed when the grocery delivery guy knocked on the door very early in the morning, and I was trying to prevent them from waking up my young daughter. And when I stepped out of bed, literally my knee gave out underneath me and I couldn't get up, and ended up being some sort of nerve damage that was never fully diagnosed. But through talking to a physical therapist, she recommended that I start riding a bike. And I basically laughed at the idea. I thought that was ridiculous. There's no way that, I'm going to start riding a bike. I'm 30 something years old. I'm a dad. I don't have time for this nonsense. And so what I did at the time was something I did often. I went to my brother and was complaining to him about how this crazy doctor thought that getting on a bike was going to solve my problems. And it turned out that doctor was right. My brother in that conversation said to me, listen, you just need to decide you're the weird guy that rides his bike to work. Just use it as a way to get to work, and you'll be able to get this done. For whatever reason, the way he said it, when he said it, it stuck. It made sense to me. I was the weird guy for lots of reasons. So why not this one? So I did. I started riding that 9 miles to work every day. And not only did my knees get better, but the surprising result that my physical therapist was not anticipating was that my mental health started to get better, because I had to focus for that 9 miles. I had to focus on that moment. I couldn't live in the past. I couldn't worry about the future. I had to just stay right where I was, because if my focus was shifted, then it was going to end badly. I was going to crash. I was going to get hit by a car. I was going to hit a pothole. Somebody was going to open a door, and it was going to just not go well. So I fell in love with this, the ability, the way that it forced me to be present in the moment. And I went seeking new ways to bring more of that into my life, and ultimately ended up in a therapist's office where he taught me all about meditation and about how to be more present and how to not let the past haunt me, and how to not let my fears of the future that were wasted energy anyways, how to not let them ruin my life. So more and more, I just tried to find new ways to be present in the moment, and really let those fears go. And the crazy part about it was that that was the first of many doors. I kicked that door open, and on the other side, I found 3 more. And, along the way, I'd tried different, antidepressants, different medications to try to deal with these problems, and none of them worked. But in the process of experimenting with them and experimenting with getting off of them, it just opened up more and more opportunities for me to try different things that I never would have otherwise considered, to ultimately end up with a much better life. I lost about 70 pounds. I got my mental health much more in check. I'm now in the middle of the longest stretch I've ever had without a major depressive episode. I recognize anxiety when I see it. I don't have negative voices in my head anymore telling me what a loser I am and how I'm not worthy of anything. And it's all because a physical therapist said, "Hey, why don't you take a ride on a bike?"
Well, there's something for you. If you've got a bit of depression, go and get on your bike.
Right? It's crazy.
Are you sure you took it the right way? She told you to
hey, go ride a bike, buddy.
Go get on your bike. Up it.
Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense to me had I heard it that way, for sure.
Yeah. So let's take it right back then. Let's have a look at early on, when you started to feel. When was the first time you started feeling depression and going down that route? When was the first time you actually physically sort of felt depressed? Was it when you left school and had to go to work? Or was it when you get up early in the morning to go to school?
I think it manifested itself in ways that I didn't recognize until I was a teenager. I was sick a lot as a kid, and wanted to be home, and a lot of that had to do with stress at home, the way that the dynamics were in my home situation. And so I was in doctors' offices a lot, and a lot of times the doctors would say, "We don't see anything wrong here. There's no blood tests are fine. All the tests are fine. There's nothing wrong here." And as I became a teenager and started, talking to therapists and going different routes to find answers, they started to recognize, okay, there's some depression here. So I think a lot of those fears and anxieties that I had as a kid were making me sick, it's physically, so that I would stay home and not have to deal with either, worrying about what was going to be happening at home while I was at school, or not having, or fears about school. So I think it was in my teenage years that it was, ultimately when it was diagnosed, that it's clicked for me that, now I have a name for what this thing is that's been in my way for so long.
Yeah. So during that depression then, what was your kind of coping mechanism back then? Was it like comfort eating? You said you lost 70 odd pounds through riding the bike. So I'm assuming that you was a bit of a couch potato. You didn't go out. You did an awful lot of comfort eating, shall we say, to put on the weight.
Emotional eating was a big part of it. I definitely, I've always been kind of an introvert anyways. So video games became a big thing when I was a kid. And so all of a sudden I was able to escape into video games, eat a lot of terrible foods. And then as I got older, I found that anytime anything felt uncomfortable, or I felt any sort of feeling I didn't want to feel, a can of beer would put that out pretty quickly. So, the only thing better than one was two. So, I don't think I ever became a full blown like alcoholic, but I definitely used alcohol to cope with my feelings for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's most people's coping strategies to start with, isn't it? Just have a drink just to calm it. It's like having a cigarette, isn't it? I mean, that's just a fallacy, having a cigarette to calm your nerves. No, that doesn't work. It just makes you really, you smell and you're unhealthy.
Right. And it actually increases your heart rate. It does the opposite of what you think it does.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
but in reality, what you're doing is you're giving yourself 5 minutes outside to take a breath and calm down. Like it's not the cigarette. Yeah. It's the physical escape from the situation you're in that's actually helping. That's
it, basically. So I mean, sort of stepping back and having that condor moment.
That's right.
Yeah, kind of double negative, really. It's like booze. I mean, booze actually speeds up your heart rate. And I wear the old smartwatch and I wear it to bed, and it monitors my sleep patterns, such as they are. And whenever I've had a drink before I go to bed, I've always had a higher heart rate during the night, and I don't get a deep sleep.
Yep.
So that's a fact. Booze gives you increases your heart rate and gives you a lousy night's sleep anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
You're
It's
totally
true.
comatose.
Yeah, well, and people use it because it does make you feel sleepy. Like so we trick
Yeah, yeah,
ourselves into thinking this is going to help me sleep, but actually your
yeah,
body is then trying to process all the sugars and all the alcohol, so then it's working harder in your sleep. So you're getting a poor night's sleep. You're waking up feeling awful, so you dive into a pot of coffee, which then again messes up your insides, and you're trying to
yeah.
process that all day long. So then when you come down, you continue the cycle with another drink in the evening. So yeah, it's a vicious cycle that we're easily sucked into.
Absolutely. So moving on slightly then. So you become you got married, obviously met a young
Hmm.
lady, and
Yeah.
you tied the knot, and you had a saucepan lid. Have you just got the one?
Two kids. Yeah.
Two kids, but
Yeah.
it was the one kid that you had to jump out of bed for, that you etc., that put you into the state of mind where you didn't you needed to go and do some physiotherapy or some therapy to fix that injury, and
Yeah.
and and go and get on your bike
Hmm.
was the recommended, because
Yeah.
I mean running, you can go running, but running just puts an awful lot of strain on it. Riding a bike or swimming, you're using less stress on it, and that's how they cure it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you started to be the weird bloke riding a bike 9 miles to work and back. So it's 18
Hmm.
miles a day,
Yeah.
and over what sort of period did you lose that £70?
I feel like it happened pretty quickly. I don't remember exactly. I think it was probably a matter of months. And there were a lot of things that went into that. It wasn't just the bike. It was, riding all of those miles. I walked into what was a pretty standard office environment where everybody was bringing in, donuts, cookies, crackers, like whatever junk. And it's always just sitting out in the office for everybody to walk by and snack. And so,
Always
that
somebody's birthday.
yeah, it's always somebody's birthday, so there's always a cake, and you feel like a jerk if you don't eat it or whatever. But
Yeah,
the interesting thing that happened was that I was writing so much that I was realizing that when I changed what I was putting into my body, it made the ride easier. And so I got to a point where literally when I would walk by those same counters that I otherwise would have grabbed, a cookie or two, I would look at that food and it didn't even look like food anymore. I mean, it might as well have been books or rocks. It didn't even look like food anymore. And
yeah.
so just the my nutrition changed just because it just felt different when I ate it. This was all around the same time that I also decided to stop drinking. So that was a massive amount of calories that I was no longer consuming.
Yeah.
Uh, I did experiment with the keto diet that helped, burn a few of the extra carbs off that I didn't need as well. So it was kind of a perfect storm of a lot of things happening at once that really just helped torch a lot of the fat off my body.
Mm. And so riding a bike, I mean, using up quite a lot of energy, which energy needs to get it from somewhere, and then takes the sugars out of the body and starts eating away at the fat and all the rest of it. And if you're not putting an awful lot in to you lose a lot quicker.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and then that has a positive effect on the mind, on
Yeah.
your physical as well as your mental health.
Yeah, I'm at a
And
point now where the physical activity that I do, I try to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. I try to go for a couple of hikes. I try to ride my bike. Like every day, I try to do something because I've come to believe that the depression that I experience, the anxiety that I experience, is energy in my body that doesn't know it doesn't have an outlet. It doesn't have a place to go. And so
yeah,
if I can move it in another way, the mental clarity that comes with it is the number one reason why I do it every day. The physical benefits are great, and I'm happy to have them, but I'm in there because of the voices and the noise up here, not because of
yeah,
what I'm trying to build on the
and
outside.
and using them endorphins,
Hmm.
it's that's in a drug in itself. I mean, I've gone through it, and lots of people that go to the gym experience that endorphin, and pressurizes you to get on and just do it every day, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
And you get to a stage where you start overdoing it, and when you start overdoing it, you start injuring. And once you injure,
Hmm.
the older you get, the longer it takes to get over the injury. You have to
Yep.
lay off, and then you get into the state where you you can't you've lost the endorphins, you've lost that drive to get to the gym every day because you've been carrying this injury, and then you start stepping back from it and you start eating crap and you end up spiraling down.
Yeah. I've been there recently. I as you said, I was going to the gym. I was doing all these things, and I decided, you know what else I need to do is start trail running. So I started doing that. Ended up hurting my knee. So then I was like, I can't do that anymore. I better go back into the gym, and went into the gym too early, hurt my back. And so I've had these injuries that have slowed me down. And so all along the way, I'm aware that my body needs it, but my brain needs it. I got to do something. So I'm still every day trying to figure out what can I go swim? Can I go take a walk? I mean, there's all these studies that show taking a walk. I can't remember how long it is, but you can achieve the same effects from taking a walk that you can from taking Prozac to deal with your depression. It's incredible. And so many of us are tied to these screens and tied to our desks for 8-9 hours a day. And then we go home and sit on the couch and watch TV all night. We don't do anything hard. Our jobs might be challenging, but we don't intentionally do hard things to build confidence and feel better about ourselves. So then we wonder why we feel like we don't have a purpose. We feel miserable and can't find happiness in our lives.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a difficult balance, particularly for office workers, because the nature of the beast. You're in an office. You're generally sedentary most of the day, and and after a long day that's been taxing your brain, you can't be asked to get up and do something in the evening.
Right. Yeah. And if you're a parent, you're going home to kids that want to play and want to tell you all of their stuff, and your spouse wants to tell you all about their lives. Like, your brain's toast. And so, the last thing you want to do, hey, let's go for a 10-mile bike ride. Like that sounds insane when you're in that phase.
Yeah. I mean, lots of people get up early in the morning and go and do gym. Or go and work out in the mornings. Some people doing their lunch breaks. I couldn't think of anything worse doing phys during lunchtime.
I've done both. Because I like the idea of doing the hard thing first thing in the morning, because if I put off going to the gym, if I can't commit to a time that I can make it work all day, I'm doing the mental gymnastics of, after this call, after this meeting, I'll do let me finish one more report, and then and all of a sudden it's 5:00 and you're done and you can't do it. Yeah. So, but I have found a way that just if it's on my calendar that, at noon or 1:00, that's when I'm going to go. Like mornings, it just doesn't work for me because of my current schedule, but I can commit because it's on my calendar. Everyone knows I'm busy. Don't bug me. So as long as I can do the hardest part of the workout, which is putting on the shoes and getting out the door, then the rest is easy.
That's the challenging bit to start with, isn't it? It's taking that first step. It's like any single journey. Every single journey starts with that first step. Yep. And once you've got the first step, the second step follows, and away you're off. It's getting that first step out the door, and that's the biggest challenge for anybody, I guess.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep it as a habit because when you've done what I did for so long, when you can use food or booze or whatever as a coping mechanism, the effects are immediate. But when you go to the gym, you've now been going for a week or two, and you look in the mirror, nothing looks different. You don't really feel any different other than you're annoyed you have to do this thing that's really a pain in the ass and nobody wants to do it. But the longer you do it, eventually you get to a point where you miss a day and you feel off. Something doesn't feel right. And you're like, it's because I didn't go to the gym. And all of a sudden you become that person that has to go because you just feel better when you do. And so, but you have to be so patient and not be married to an outcome. You have to not worry about a number on a scale or how you're going to look in the mirror. It has to just become the thing you do every day because it's the thing you do every day.
Yeah. And then, and in turn that does get the or whatever they call them, the endorphins, the right chemical balance in your brain to keep you on that straight and narrow of being well-minded, being a well-rounded person. It takes away those anxieties, that takes away that depression. It puts you in a much, much better place. And
it makes you,
and then that rubs off on people around you as well.
Yeah. It makes you stronger and more resilient because you you didn't want to do something and you did it anyways. And there's tons of research that shows that is one of the keys to longevity, is if you can constantly, not constantly, if you can daily overcome something difficult, force yourself to do something you don't want to do, it will help you live a longer, happier life. And it will just make all of the stupid stuff at work that you let get you down, or the annoying fight you had with your spouse or whatever, that stuff just gets easier because you are practicing doing a hard thing. You don't have to wait for hard things to come to you and then figure them out on the fly. You're practiced in it. You are ready and prepared to face that battle and win.
So life's tough enough as it is,
Yeah.
without throwing in a curveball to make it more difficult.
Yeah, if you're standing there waiting for curveballs all day, it's going to be tough. But if you go to the batting cage once in a while and see them coming, you're a little more prepared to hit them.
Absolutely. So, Jeremy, what advice would you give to anybody that is struggling, A, physically, and B, having that knock-on effect with their mental well-being? Mm-hmm. What advice would you say?
I mean, there's all kinds of great advice out there, but the thing that I think helped me the most was doing something I loved. I didn't know I was going to love riding a bike. I thought it was a ridiculous idea, but to this day, I love it. And whenever I can, I ride it. So if you're sitting there, you're struggling, you don't have a purpose, you feel like you're not good enough, you're worthless, all this stuff, find something physical that you like to do and do it every day. If that is taking a walk around the block for 10 minutes, if that is swimming at the pool at the local club, or if you have one in your backyard because you're lucky, find something you like doing and do it. And that, it's so simple, and it almost feels stupid to give that advice, but we don't make time for ourselves. We if you're anything like me, you drive around in your car with the gas tank as low as possible, trying to stretch every mile out of it that you can. And you're probably treating yourself that way too. If you stop once in a while before the tank is empty and fill it up, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be able to go farther. So find that thing that you can commit to doing every day because you enjoy it. And after a week, 2, 3, you'll realize, oh yeah, I can walk a little farther. I can swim a little longer. I can jog a little bit farther than this. Yeah. And the cascading effects of not only feeling better, but just your perception on who you are as a person, the way you want to treat your body, it all starts to change because you just started to take a little bit better care of yourself. It doesn't have to be everything overnight. It shouldn't be everything overnight because you will fail. You probably have failed over and over again. Just do something today that you didn't do yesterday that will help fill your cup a little bit, and then try it again tomorrow and the day after and the day after, and just watch the benefits of consistency start to just pour into your life.
Fantastic. I mean, that's sound advice. So, Jeremy, that's been brilliant. Thank you so much. That.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. This is a lot of fun.
Well, there you go. There's some sound advice. If you are struggling with your mental well-being and your physical well-being, find something you can do. Find some physical activity that you can do, and you keep doing it. Push yourself day in, day out, and eventually it will pay massive, massive dividends on your mental well-being and your physical well-being. So that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, have a look at the radio station. There's a ton of stuff on there. There's schedules on there. It's going really well at the moment. So tune into that. There's all my old products, all my old conversations on there. There's a whole wealth of stuff. So until next week, where hopefully I'll have another guest. Until then, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.